Hey race fans, and welcome to
Formula.
Well, I was going to do my Zandvoort preview and predictions, but then this happens. But don't worry, I'm only going to briefly touch on what we've known is coming for months now, and then get into what we've all been waiting for, and that's an actual F1 action. So I'm guessing Cadillac didn't want the Dutch drivers' press conferences to be dominated by questions of if they think Bottas or Perez would be the best fit, and just decided to drop it on us early. Personally, I would have let it play it out like the Mercedes and Russell contract saga that still continues, even though Mercedes' reserve driver has a contract over their lead driver and the poor stressed out rookie. I mean, how has that happened? What are you doing, Toto? Just put them out of their misery and wrap up all the questions we've been and will still be getting about who the Mercedes drivers will be next year, because Max isn't looking anymore and has moved his yacht away from Wolf's, so hurry up already. Anyway, that's Bottas and Perez confirmed finally, and now we can move on to what we have been waiting for, which is cars on track for the first time in what seems like months. And I'm not going to leave you waiting a second more, because we're going to get straight into predictions for the race, and then I'll try and justify my delusion to you afterwards. For my pole position prediction, I think it's looking wet for Saturday qualifying, as well as possibly in the race, so I'm going for Oscar to put in a good lap, but I think Max can be a massive threat in the rain over one lap too, so it should get tasty in Q3. For the race, I have Russell in P3, P2 I reckon will be Lando, so that means my race winner will be Oscar Pastry. Okay, this is the part where I explain myself a bit, and I'm going with Russell on the podium yet again because it could be raining and that Mercedes still does look like it enjoys the cooler weather. George was on the podium in the wet Aussie race. In Silverstone he went for a wrong strategy from the start, but could have ran well there if it had played out. And in Spa it was a decent fifth, but that was with the suspension upgrade, which actually turned out to be a downgrade. So now that Mercedes have reverted back to the old suspension, it should give a bit more feeling back, which is what you'll need around Zandvoort, because it's basically a go-kart track for F1 cars. So I reckon a good race for Russell, and then in the post-race press conference, he can turn the screws even more on Toto about his contract and try to add another mil or two maybe. As for Lando in second place, it has been shown that McLaren is still a rocket even in the wet, and especially on a drying track, as their tyre cooling trick means it doesn't wear out the fragile inters, and they seem to be able to still pull pace from them while all the other teams struggle. I still think we need a Lando win to tighten things up a bit more, but I reckon Oscar will be just more consistent. But this is all based on a bit of wet weather, so who knows at this stage what Sunday will bring. I'm going to have to stick with Oscar winning, and I think by a fair margin in a wet to drying race, because as we know, FIA will not allow a full wet weather race and will only run the race in mixed conditions, where I reckon Oscar will make fewer mistakes. Something to note is that Pirelli have bought a step softer set this year, so the C2 is now the hardest this weekend and the C4 will be the softest, and this could force it into a two-stop race. But who are we kidding? It's been a one-stop race kind of season, so much so that Monaco was made a mandatory two-stop race, and look what happened there. There has been a change in pit lane speed from 60 to 80 kilometers per hour, or for the Imperial speed system, that's 37.282 miles per hour, increased to 49.709 miles per hour. And combined with the mentioned softer spec of tyres, I think this might actually entice teams to do a two-stop, but it just hasn't worked out this year, and as always, good qualifying and a good start off the line. I'm looking at you, Lando. Is always going to be key to a good race plan and not throwing in two stoppers to mix up the strategy. For another bit of strategy reference, the fastest lap last year was Norris with 1 minute 13.817, or again for the Imperial speakers, that's a 1 minute 13 and roughly 13 sixteenths. If the rain doesn't appear, I think this could be a tough weekend for home favourite Max, as he was not happy with the turning of his RB20 last year, and the RB21 has not improved in that area. You just have to look at Hungary 24 and the famous quote of, "I'm -5 on brake bias and this thing still won't turn." And judging by the qualifying and race he had last time out in Hungary, then I think it might not be a happy home race. The RB21 does not like low speed corners, and there are a few here where Max may struggle, along with the longer radius corners similar to the last two corners in Hungary, which he has had trouble getting into and out of quickly. But his home crowd support may give him a tenth or two, which I think he may need all of to be in the game for a podium. But then again, it looks like it may be raining, so it could easily be a Max win, who knows. Talking of rain and helping people out, Ferrari might be saved as they don't have to run the car low and risk paint wear. When F1 cars race in the wet, you need to raise the car slightly to limit aquaplaning, due to water basically sealing off the floor and pretty much stalling out the diffuser, which is pretty dangerous. The engineers will find a ride height setting that will allow them to get away with maximum downforce in the wet, but not at the cost of quite literally skiing through water sitting on the track. A bit complicated, I know, but it's my best attempt to try and explain why the FIA refused to run in the wet, along with the fact that the wet weather tyres are useless, but that's a whole other rant I just won't go into right now. So that's if it's wet, but if it's dry, I think the bumpy nature of the Dutch track will mean Ferrari will have to run their car too high and their performance will drop off. So let's hope for rain, because we need someone to mix it up with the McLarens. As for the rest of the midfield, I think Aston Martin are making a mid-season resurgence, which is a bit of a different strategy to 2023, when they started off strong and then just forgot how to develop and decided to just do downgrades instead. I'm hoping they can continue the good form from Hungary, but please no more Alonso DRS trains holding up half the field. As for Stroll, I just hope he either continues his downturn in form or surprises us all and gets a podium, but please just do something. I think that Williams will struggle with a short track, and being a front limited circuit, these are both things that don't suit their car. So maybe more pain for Carlos, but Albon may be able to pull something out of it. Haas could be okay here, and I'm hoping Ollie has used the summer break to review what you get a 10-place grid penalty for, so that he can avoid them at all costs and start showing what he is really capable of. And Ocon can keep steadily bringing in points to make the constructors fight for 5th something to cheer for, since McLaren have already run away with the win. Kick Sauber or steak sandwich or whatever they're allowed to be called here this weekend are another that are in the fight for 5th, and if Gabby can keep up his Hungary heroics, and if Holt can make a run at another podium in the possible mixed conditions, then we will have something to watch in the midfield while the papaya cars run off into the distance. Visa, debit, cash out with savings, please press 1 and then enter Racing Balls. Could be on for a few points following their recent trends, and with Lawson finally getting over the trauma of the Red Bull cursed second seat, and with Hadjar having a bit of dip but showing signs in Hungary of his early season form, then I think this could be a good weekend for them. Which leaves Alpine, and now that Bottas has been signed to Cadillac, I guess Colapinto is safe, at least for one more race, right Flav? Apart from holding the back of the field up and being a blue flag menace, I am really waiting for him to gel with his car and show what he can really do, because we all saw his talent at Williams, and I know that Alpine is a dog of a car, so we can't expect great results, but I would just love to see him have a breakthrough result and maybe even a cheeky point this weekend to boost his confidence and secure his seat for next year. As for Gasly, he just needs to keep on doing what he's doing until 2026, where I hope with Mercedes engine he can also show how talented he is, and the 2021 Pierre comes back. Well, that is my most probably useless predictions for the Dutch GP, so make sure to watch my driver debrief video where I will go through how wrong I was. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.